Hey guys, I'm your host Jose and welcome to the RPO, where each week I'll be previewing and analyzing the upcoming games for your local New York Jets, New York Giants, plus the three other nationally televised games of the week. Off the back of their first one of the season, Joe Judge and the New York Giants head into Philly this week to play the Eagles on Thursday night. In a matchup where the winner of this game could find themselves atop the abysmal NFC East when Week 7 is all said and done. The Giants had a very decent showing against the Washington football team this past Sunday, in a game where they did just enough to pull out the slim 20-19 victory. Daniel Jones had yet another lackluster game where he only posted 112 yards, one touchdown, and yet another red zone interception. But looking on the bright side, Jones did post his highest QBR of the season and also had a career-high 74 rushing yards, and he did do enough to lead the Giants to victory. On defense, however, the Giants continue to force turnovers as James Bradberry came away with his second interception of the season, and on top of that, rookie linebacker Tay Crowder topped off the day with a 43-yard fumble return touchdown. The Eagles come off a 30-28 loss to the Ravens. The Eagles' defense has been subpar this season to say the least, as they rank in the bottom half of the league in yards allowed per game, points allowed per game, and forced turnovers. But the major issue with the Eagles has been their turnovers, as they rank in the bottom 5 in the league in forced turnovers, and on offense are tied for the second most giveaways this season with 12, giving them the second worst turnover differential in the league at a -7. Despite all the turnovers, the Eagles have received great output from second-year running back Miles Sanders, as he has 434 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns on the season, and have been boosted by the surprise emergence of rookie wide receiver Travis Fulgham, who's only played in 3 games but leads the Eagles in receiving yards with 284 and receiving touchdowns with 3. In a cagey affair, I think the Giants come out on top 23-17. Sam Darnold is still listed as questionable for Sunday's game against the Buffalo Bills with a shoulder injury, so Jets fans might get to watch the amazing Joe Flacco show for a third straight week. The Jets are still winless, and to be frank, it's not looking so bright for them to get their first win this week against a good Buffalo Bills team led by Josh Allen. The Jets have the worst ranked offense in the league, averaging 12.5 points per game and a measly 276 yards per game. And on defense, they're giving up the 4th most points per game at 30.8. With a rushing attack led by veteran Frank Gore, now that Le'Veon Bell is a Chief, and another week of the Joe Flacco show, it's not looking so good for the Jets against a Bills team that's coming off back-to-back losses against the Titans and Chiefs and are seeking to get back into the win column. The Bills' normally high-powered offense is coming off a shaky performance against the Chiefs, where they just didn't look in sync to say the least. Josh Allen had his worst game of the season with only 122 passing yards and 1 interception. He did have 2 passing touchdowns though. And on defense, they simply couldn't stop the Chiefs on 3rd down, as they converted 9 out of 14 chances. This, alongside a dysfunction shown on offense, led to their downfall against the Chiefs. Nonetheless, I'm picking the Bills to get back to their winning ways in a one-sided affair, 30-7. This week we have a bonus game since the Giants play the Eagles on Thursday night. In America's Game of the Week, the undefeated Seattle Seahawks travel to the desert to take on the 4-2 Arizona Cardinals in a matchup between the top 2 teams in the NFC West. Russell Wilson has started this season on fire. The current frontrunner for MVP has thrown for 1,500 yards and 19 touchdowns. Plus, receiver DK Metcalf is building upon his strong finish of the 2019 season and is looking like an all-pro out in the field, with 469 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns. The one iffy area on the Seattle team, however, is their defense. Seattle's allowing a league-worst 370 passing yards per game and are also giving up a league-worst 471 yards per game. But, hopefully for the Seahawks' sake, Pete Carroll used his bye week to firm up his secondary, who has to defend the likes of Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins, and Christian Kirk in the pass game. The Cardinals dismantled the Cowboys last week, 38-10. In the win, running back Kenyon Drake put on a show, finishing with a season-high 164 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. Plus, quarterback Kyler Murray threw for 188 yards, 2 touchdowns, both going to receiver Christian Kirk, and he also rushed for a touchdown. A strong suit for this Cardinals team has surprisingly been their defense, as they have allowed the second least points per game this season at a measly 18.7 points. and are being led by a stout secondary, which features the likes of former Pro Bowl corner Patrick Peterson, alongside rising stars safety Budda Baker and corner Byron Murphy. They've only allowed 9 passing touchdowns this season. But with all that said, I'm still picking Russell and the Seahawks in a high-scoring game, 35-30. A battle between the two pirate-based teams in the NFL takes place on Sunday night, as Tom Brady and the Buccaneers go into Sin City to take on Josh Jacobs and the Raiders. The Raiders come into this week off a bye and boasting the 6th best offense in the league, averaging 399 yards per game and 30 points per game. Josh Jacobs has led the ground attack with 377 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns. In the passing game, Derek Carr is off to a hot start as he's racked up 1,442 passing yards and 11 touchdowns. The most important thing is, though, that he's been very efficient with the ball in his hands, as he's only thrown 1 interception this season. The defense hasn't gotten to the hot start that their offense has, however. The Raiders are ranked in the bottom 10 in terms of yards allowed per game and have given up the 6th most points per game at 30.4. The Raiders' shaky defense isn't going to help them against a Buccaneers team that has finally found their offensive groove last week against the Packers. The NFC South leader put up 38 points against what was then an undefeated Packers team. Tom Brady threw for 2 touchdowns and running back Ronald Jones added 2 scores on the ground as well. But what was even more impressive about that game was how well the defense played, holding the Packers to only 10 points, which were all scored in the first quarter. The Buccaneers defense had Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay offense looking discombobulated the whole game. Tampa has a defense that's not really talked about in the media, but let me give you a couple of numbers. Tampa has the best rush defense in the league. They are the 6th best pass defense in the league. They've allowed the 8th fewest points per game and have allowed the least amount of total yards per game. So yeah, I would say they're a pretty elite group, and that's why I'm going with Tom Brady and the Buccaneers in the final score of 28-10. On Monday night to end Week 7, Khalil Mack and Chicago Bears take on Aaron Donald and the LA Rams. The Bears come into the game sitting atop the NFC North with a 5-1 record after a Week 6 victory over the Carolina Panthers. When looking at the Chicago Bears, nothing really jumps off the page when you look at their offense. As a matter of fact, they're the 5th worst offense in the league, yet they sit at a 5-1 record. That right there shows you just how good the Chicago defense has been playing this season. They have been amazing at stopping teams on 3rd down, as they have the 2nd best 3rd down defense in the league. Plus, the Chicago defense has been frustrating QBs all season, as they've given up the lowest opposing QB completion percentage in the league. Also, they're a top 10 team in terms of sacks this season. Led up front by linebackers Khalil Mack and Roquan Smith, and in the secondary by corner Kyle Fuller and safety Eddie Jackson, this Chicago defense is once again a force to be reckoned with. The Rams are coming off a somewhat shocking loss to the 49ers, where the offense just seems to not show up for the game. For the first time this season, Jared Goff didn't seem in sync with his receivers, as he had a season-low 50% completion percentage. Nevertheless, similar to the Chicago Bears, the Rams defense has been playing lights out this season. Ranked the 4th best defense in the league, Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey have been playing up to their All-Pro status. The Rams defense is 4th in total yards allowed per game, 4th in passing yards allowed per game, 11th in rushing yards allowed per game, and 5th in total points allowed per game. In a game between 2 top defensive units, I'm siding with the LA Rams to pull this one out with a final score of 20-13. And those are my picks for this week, folks. Tune into the RPO next week to find out what my picks are for Week 8.